What makes you nervous about doing this?
I don't know. It's hard to explain. I guess because I have to get started with you on it, and like we have to keep. I guess there's an expectation,
Yeah.
and even if there's not, I probably set one for myself, like subconsciously, and like
Yeah,
there's.
you have to be better than Jasmine at this point.
Oh
So
man, she does a good job talking with you though.
she does
Yeah,
actually.
she. It sounds very like natural with the two of you.
Yeah. And we actually she's good at like not leaving pauses
Yeah, she
in
doesn't leave pauses for sure, and you guys do a good job of like reacting to each other,
yeah.
like without making it feel like manufactured, you know?
Okay, that's good.
And it just sounds organic, I guess.
Yeah, it is. Because we
Yeah.
don't prepare that much either.
I want to say that it does a good job capturing what it's like when you two interact.
Yeah.
Um, and
Do you
so,
think we're funny?
yeah, of course I think you guys are
Because that's important. Because
funny. Is
girls are supposed to be funny.
yeah, I mean, generally, most guys think, and even women too
Yeah,
will say,
women don't support other
yeah,
women.
other women don't.
They go, she's not funny. She thinks she's funny.
Oh,
She's
she
trying to be
thinks she's so
funny.
fucking funny, huh?
Yeah, yesterday, like when my mom was saying I'm emoji, or
Oh
I
yeah.
was emoji, and I hated it on her. I was like, stop trying to be funny, mom.
You know what? She really confused me too. I wasn't sure. I didn't get the joke.
Yeah,
So,
I was never emo. I'm just like internally emo. I never looked emo,
oh yeah,
but I did have the bangs.
internally you were emo. Yeah, the bang was your like physical manifestation of
Yeah, I
your
was like, I need this eye
emo.
covered completely so I
Yeah.
can't see.
Yeah, like yeah, I had bangs too at some point.
Did you have
Um
your eye covered?
I would cover my eyes sometimes, but my mom didn't like it.
Yeah,
She would like
she
tell
just
me
said
shit.
no.
Yeah, and my dad would pick on me, so I didn't have like my head tilted with like the bangs over one eye.
Hmm.
It was more like they were kind of just like brushing against like I have thick
They were
eyebrows.
swept over.
Yeah, they're swept over gracefully, and I had thick ass eyebrows. I still do, obviously, right? So
Yeah,
like,
so it looked like you had a unibrow.
yeah, I didn't want to have the unibrow look. So a lot of it was like to one side, or
Yeah.
yeah, or I'd have just like one bang,
One
just
bang,
one bang, like
just down.
yeah, just
Yeah, that was a horrible time.
yeah, it was. I learned how to like be myself, I guess, like really slowly because of how crazy it was being a teenager during a time where like I guess like like expressing yourself was like a huge thing. I guess it always has been to a certain point, right?
Yeah.
But like I feel like during the time we were growing up because the internet was so like
When did we meet?
when did we meet? We met it was 1942. We're just getting off the lineup. Um I think we met in 2007.
2007?
2007,
How old
yeah.
were we? Or like what grade?
Well, okay, your birthday's in November and mine is in September, so we're
Did you
always
question your birthday right now?
no, I was just like thinking about yeah, I
September.
haven't said the months in a while. I was just trying to no no. Um we're always a little younger than everyone, right? Like from
Yeah.
our grade
Yeah,
because we're right before December. That means we were like probably like what Valentine's Day babies? Is that what that is?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know how to count. March, April, June, July.
Anyways, so what grade were we in?
Yeah. So
We're like 10th grade
we were sophomores.
or ninth grade?
I feel like it was the summer between freshman and sophomore year
Oh, okay.
because there was a lot of time to like go
Go to
places.
Main Street.
To go to yeah, to go to like the downtown of Alhambra.
What was remember they used to have the jubilees?
They did, yeah. We can't really talk about
Why?
because you're not supposed to be talking about Jewish people right now. You're talking about the Jubilee.
I was like, wait, am I gonna be like,
You're
is this
canceled.
canceled?
You're done.
Is this episode gonna be taken off?
You fucking done.
Because I can't say the word jubilee? I
Yeah,
don't.
you can't say Jubilee no more.
Why?
It's just rough out there. You don't want to question why you can't talk about it either. They're gonna shut this whole thing down.
Okay, can you explain?
Yeah, I don't think we met at the Jubilee. I think we met.
No, I'm just saying that was the summer. What was happening during the
Oh
summers?
yeah, the Jubilee
It
was
was
cracking.
Jubilee, Main Street.
The Beach Boys played.
Oh, how about breaking into school on the weekends?
Oh yeah, that was that was
That's
like a big
stupid.
deal. I know we would break into school to
Oh
like
wait, I
skateboard.
totally forgot. Like you didn't go to Alhambra.
No, yeah, we would break into our elementary school
You didn't go
as
to Alhambra High
teenagers.
School. I thought we went to school
No,
together.
I
I thought we
didn't.
had Mr. Cho.
I thought we had Mr. Ty together and Mr. Levy. Uh,
Dumb. I think he was a fucking
he
teacher
was a
there.
teacher. I know there was a Mr. Hodigi too.
Oh my God, what's wrong with
There
you?
was a
You were
Mr.
breaking into
Trolson. Mr.
Alhambra High
Trolson was
School?
sick too.
He's a
Well,
musician,
he
right?
was the music director. I
And
only
he's
know
a
that.
swimmer.
Yeah, he was also a great swimmer. He had great form.
There's the
Yeah,
other guy that looks like Paul Rudd. Forgot he was my teacher.
that was the
Mr.
Mr. Venti.
I was gonna say Mr.
I'm
Savine,
like
but
telling
that
you about the teachers you had. I didn't even go to your fucking school.
he is a teacher.
Okay, so I guess let's talk about that. Like everyone thinks I went to your high school.
Yeah,
Okay, it's like anyone who doesn't know us is listening to this doesn't give a fuck. But like
yeah,
basically like everyone that I grew up with and that you grew up with for the most part,
yeah.
they grew up in the San Gabriel Valley
Right.
or like northeast Los
Yeah,
Angeles.
you're Mr. San Gabriel Valley.
I was Mr. San Gabriel Valley. I didn't really have too many friends from like East LA or Northeast LA, even though most of my family was from there.
Uh-huh.
They didn't let me out on the streets by myself.
Well, what about your private school?
That was different because that was in high school. At like at private schools, it's never like just people from the city. It's like people from all over because they're
Oh,
commuting.
because they're commuting to the private
Yeah,
school.
because their parents are like, we really want him to go learn about God,
Yeah.
so he could be
Okay.
this like
Yeah.
just right man or woman, you know?
Yeah. When I went to private school, I think there was like maybe two people, three that commuted, but it was like
Well, including you, right?
I
You
was
were
a
there illegally.
commuter.
You're a
Yeah.
criminal.
No, they used my address. It's just, they needed money.
You're getting one over on the government.
But yeah, I was not from the community of El Sereno. I was from Highland
No.
Park, so
Yeah.
but I went to school there for a little bit. And yeah, there was only like one other person who was like from Pasadena and like commuting to
hmm
the hood.
So when you went to Alhambra, no one knew you either, right?
No, nobody knew me, just Ashley. I used her address and that's how I got into Alhambra. Alhambra Unified District's gonna contact
They're gonna be
you.
like, and who's this Ashley?
And
And
your
what does
de-
she mean to
your
you?
your high school degree is not valid anymore.
Let's talk about your dad's college degree.
Let's talk about your dad's bachelor degree.
uh, Cornell?
So, I know you have a topic that you like to talk about, and it's usually simulations. And I
Oh
know you
gosh.
don't.
You're gonna ask me about this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically I stopped believing in like Jesus stuff.
Hmm.
Um probably like around probably like in my early 20s and in my obviously growing up like I mentioned going to private school, right? Like I was religious because my family and shit.
Hmm.
And then I like try to still I just found like that I had some sort of direction when I was religious, right?
Hmm.
At that time, right? I felt
I
like
think a lot of people do. Yeah.
yeah, like I felt like I had a some sort of driving force or direction, right?
Yeah.
And so as I started to learn more about like life growing up at that time and like I was losing people close to me and like like my grandma died my senior year, right? And she was like a big force of that religious influence, I guess. So that made me really question life a lot because I had kind of grown up experiencing that loss, but then
Hmm.
taking a loss that was really someone I was extremely close to, who I had like grown up, I guess relying on and like learning from, was a huge deal as almost an adult, right? Different than when I was a child,
Yeah.
because then you just kind of like when things happen to you when you're a kid, you kind of just like
You normalize it or you brush it
yeah,
off, and then
mm-hmm,
you don't really kind of like look at what was happening in the moment
mm-hmm.
until like maybe later on in life.
Yeah, like there's this processing period,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Until you're an adult. and then you start seeing it manifest like is
Yeah.
in your habits and like your behavior as an adult.
Yeah, like why do I do things like this?
Yeah, why do I act this way when I do this shit? So
Yeah, why does this make me feel this way?
yeah, seriously, and sometimes people don't even question that. So I was really questioning those things when my grandma passed away my senior year. So I went from being this religious person, like hyper religious in a way,
Mm.
not to the point where I was like judging my friends or other people if they were religious.
But it was what was holding you, like you were holding on to it as some
Yeah,
sort of guidance or like
yeah, straight up. So it was
belief.
like
Yeah.
it was easy for me to be accountable when I was more religious,
Mm.
but I've stopped like being focused on that like around the time my grandma passed away my senior year. And then once I got out of high school, you know, like you're trying to go to college, and I was like really ambitious, so I applied to a bunch of dumbass schools I probably wasn't going to get into.
Yeah.
um I had like a poor probably self image in terms of like I guess not now how I felt about myself, but how I viewed myself,
Hmm.
because it was not probably like an honest reflection of where I was at the time.
Right.
Um, and then like my grandma passed away, so like around the same time where I guess you'd be applying for school and stuff, I was like super distracted. It was like November, middle of November.
Yeah.
I keep going back talking about this part. I guess because it's important to, um, I guess how I came upon this, this like not
Simulation
theory.
theory?
Yeah, I'm like this is so how I started to like the Matrix. No, I'd already watched the Matrix, right?
Yeah.
And I thought I always liked that idea,
Mm.
and it was always at odds with like my understanding and use of religion to get through life. And so as I was like going through more shit that was serious, I guess just to summarize that, right? To go through all this serious shit that was happening and then have to be like more accountable for how my actions influence my like my trajectory in life and like my circle and how people view me and how I view them, and just basically my quality of life, right, was determined by my spirituality for a minute.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to be spiritual anymore. I'm just going to kind of just live without fear of like uh like what would the word be, like holy persecution, like I didn't want to be afraid of God.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that. I relate to that because since I went to a Catholic school and I was just telling your mom about it too. It's
Yeah.
like I was really traumatized with what I learned in Catholic school, even though it was for a short period of time.
Hmm.
But I had already, before that, done my first communion.
Hmm.
I had done my confirmation. I
All the
had done,
sacraments.
what was the other one? It was like my baptism, communion, confirmation. I did
Yeah,
all
yeah,
of them.
you're
I was a
baptized as a kid.
certified Catholic. Yeah. And just like I was scared of the devil, I was scared of hell.
Hmm.
I was like really traumatized, and I would have to do confessions, and
Oh yeah, that was the
I would
worst.
have to tell the priest that I was like stealing shit, but just gum. That's it.
I've just been taking
I was like, okay,
chiclets.
well, maybe I can tell him just like the minor things that I would take, like not like,
Oh,
you know,
so you would hold out on them.
I would hold out on him. Sometimes I was stealing toys and
You're
gum.
like blue balling the priest.
So
you
it's
just
just like,
you just
oh,
tell me your
Father, I
sins.
took some gum because, I had
It's like
bad
really?
breath and I really needed
That
gum.
was real stinky.
And then he would be like, oh, it's okay. Like, just do Hail Marys, just do the Our Fathers. So I'm just like really, I don't know. I don't know. Religion has I have a traumatic experience with religion.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like most people do, right? That's why. Are we gonna just cut this, right?
Yes.
Our dog's going crazy. Um, let's talk about our dog. No, I was kidding.
Let's talk about how hot our
Let's
dog
talk about
is.
our hot dog. He's like the Brad Pitt of
Our
dogs. If
hot
you like
dogs.
white guys, and he's like
No,
the
you're
Idris
talking about
Elba of other dogs.
simulations.
Yeah. So religion is traumatic, right? So because religion was so traumatic, um, I stopped believing in my religion, I guess, and I didn't. I took classes in college like world religions and Eastern religions, um, and then that really opened my mind to like a different side of spirituality where there's like less fear of like the aftermath and more fear of what was already happening.
Mhm.
And so I think we talked about this. I had this teacher at PCC named not Dr. Rickards. That was yeah,
That
Dr.
was logic.
That was no, that was
Yeah,
the
same
same professor
teacher.
though.
Okay.
He also taught logic. I took that class with him, and then that's how I found out he taught Eastern. I think it was like Eastern religion too, or something like that.
Uh-huh.
It was a really random course I probably shouldn't have taken.
You probably didn't need to,
I
but
didn't need it. I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure you learned because you always tell me about religions.
Yeah, and this guy was like, he wasn't particularly religious or spiritual, in terms of like how what he like subscribed to. Right, he was just this guy that was like open minded, and he would tell us about how he went like traveling with monks, and he was in Tibet, and he was like climbing these mountains and taking like drinking this like psychedelic tea and brews
Yeah.
and shit. And so that always kind of like interested me, like that this guy had this different experience of life, exploring another side of spirituality.
Yeah.
Um, and just like having this one teacher in college kind of influence, not really like my breaking away from like being Catholic,
Mhm.
but he kind of opened my eyes to something I had already suspected for myself, right? That a lot of this was not predetermined, but a lot of it was interlinked, right? A lot
Right.
of what we're experiencing, and sometimes um like I guess at that time sometimes I would go back and I would like look at my writing and like my journals and shit from when I was growing up,
Mhm.
and I always had these really weird thoughts about like reality and what I was experiencing. And I don't know if that was like a way for me to cope with my own like situation and environment
Yeah.
and like my own traumas and shit, or if it was really um just like me questioning things. But it seemed odd, right? It seems odd for like a little kid to be questioning like what
Questioning,
reality.
why are we like
Why am I
this?
here?
What is the meaning of life?
Yeah, like coincidences and things like that. Just
Yeah.
yeah, are things I would think about. Um,
I remember having kind of just barging into not really your simulation, but going to talking about like religion. Um, I used to have nightmares about the devil and hell,
mhm.
and sometimes I think that I actually developed insomnia at a young age because of
You're
that.
afraid of the
Yeah,
devil.
because I remember one time, like, my dad was like, "What's up? Like, why can't you sleep?" And I was like, "Because, like, I think, like, I get dreams and then, like, the
The
devil
devil
comes
gets you?
or, like, I'm going to hell."
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You know what? It's kind of funny because that's how like you see people up late at night and they're just like in a way they're kind of all also afraid of the same shit, right? Because like
Yeah.
you're afraid of like the consequences.
What happens when you're sleeping? Because what's in your dreams and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're thinking about what you've done.
Yeah, that's
You're
it.
like you're like this is why I'm gonna go to hell and the devil wants me. Like I did this, I stole the gum from
Yeah.
fucking Walgreens or whatever.
Yeah.
And adults kind of do that too, right? They're like afraid of what they've
All
done.
the bad shit they've done.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
they can't go to sleep at night because their head's just like racing
They're
and
just like,
they're
why did I do that to her? Why did I cheat on her?
oh yeah.
Why did I hit him? Why I
There's
don't know.
like Chris Brown and Rihanna's like situation here.
I don't know. Just I'm sure like guilty feelings of what maybe just women and men think about.
Yeah, just people in general,
They
right?
just feel bad.
People feel
Yeah.
bad, and I think like everyone feels bad to a certain degree.
It's so crazy people because
Yeah, they have no
they're
empathy,
just
right?
like I'm okay. Like
Like it's all good. This was meant to happen. This is just normal.
this is me.
Yeah, they're
Hmm.
unapologetic. That's a real confident people,
Those are
psychopaths.
yeah, psychopaths, like narcissists.
Like they know they belong to themselves, and everyone else is kind of just like,
Yeah, they have like a motive and a goal for things. They don't
hmm
really see anything else. Like nothing else
yeah, they're
can
really
distract
efficient.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Like Jeffrey Dahmer.
they'd be like if they weren't murderers, they'd be good people probably.
Very hardworking people.
Yeah. Well, I guess I wouldn't. I don't know. That's kind of weird. I said they'd be good people. I meant to say they'd be successful people, and that's not
Well,
the same
that's
thing.
why like a lot of successful people are assholes and scumbags
Because they're
because they've
psychopaths
like climbed on top of people to
and they're
get to where they are.
sociopaths.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just fucking jerks. Um, just wanting up everyone to get ahead, probably, right?
Yeah, but anyway, sorry, going into your simulation
I mean,
theory.
those people are kind of part of that too. They prove that shit
The
too.
simulation.
Yeah, they prove the simulation because like that's like okay. Well, I mean, what would you consider like narcissism? Would you consider that to be a condition, or would you consider it to be like a behavior?
Ooh, I've had trouble defining what that is really. Like if you're saying in a sense like um
Like, do they have control over that narcissistic
well, the
side of
way the way
themselves?
like I think about it or like how it conflicts in my head is like when essentially people let's see. What's a good like analogy or comparison
To what?
to like okay, for me, my thought process is like is a narcissist born or is that learned?
Yeah,
Or is that like some sort of biological thing? Or like how does that develop? Is
yeah.
a
I guess that's what I'm
person like
asking.
already born? No, right? Because most of our like habits and like personality is learned.
Would you say it's like a consequence of their environment and upbringing, or do you think it's something that kind of
The thing that I get conflicted about is because there are some people who are raised in perfectly great families, households,
and they become
and they
narcissists?
become narcissists. I mean, it's also, one way to think about it too is just like, I mean, I guess we don't know inside every family's like house, like what's going on in the
Mm,
household. But I think I've read about and I've heard about people who come in like pretty normal households and like they're fucking crazy. Like
yeah,
you would say, I mean, just from us watching like what one or two episodes of that Jeffrey Dahmer shows that like you would say like kind of like his family was like
pretty normal, right?
pretty standard because it's like maybe his dad was an asshole, but
Mm.
like there's a lot of people that have asshole dads and they're not.
Well, okay. So, are you saying that Jeffrey Dahmer is a narcissist? Like, you're saying a murderer is a
There
narcissist?
are a lot of murders that are narcissist. I would,
Mm,
yeah.
I guess so, right? In a sense, I feel like the word gets used really loosely and like liberally
Hmm.
to define and describe people,
Yeah.
but
Well, sociopaths are like narcissists, right?
yeah,
So like that's for sure. But a lot of sociopaths are like murderers and like kill people and hurt
yeah. But
people.
then there's just like hard narcissists. They're neither of those two extremes, but they're definitely focused on themselves
Yeah.
and their self
Narcissists just
importance.
like lack empathy. They don't have empathy for people and everything that they do is kind of like there's a motive behind it.
They
Even,
benefit
even
from it, right?
yeah,
Or
they're
they're trying
benefiting
to.
from it and so even the people that they interact with like are manipulated.
Hmm.
Even if they're doing something nice, there's a motive for why they're doing something nice.
Yeah, like they have this web of like manipulation and
Yeah.
lies, to themselves too, right? Because they
Hmm.
have to kind of like they have to. So in a sense, like narcissists are kind of creating a simulated version of their own reality, right?
Yeah, you can say that.
Because
Yeah.
they're trying to like not only like manipulate their reality, but they're
Yeah.
also trying to manipulate the perspective as well of that reality for themselves and
True.
others.
True. They're and yeah, like they try to manipulate
Hmm.
people's like perspective of what this
Yeah,
person really is.
in a way, like okay, so back to the simulation shit. Like this is kind of it. All kind of has to do with it, right?
Hmm.
Because I think when I really think about like the archetypes, right? There's archetypes for people, and they just grow like forever and ever. Like they're memes at this point,
Right.
where you look at a meme and it makes sense to you if it's like enough pieces together to define someone.
Oh yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm
You've
saying?
mentioned that before.
Yeah, like there are these like there's one the ones I like are like ones about like band dudes.
Yeah.
Because like I was a band dude for a long time,
Hmm.
and I met a lot of other band dudes. You see like all these memes like describing, and like it makes sense. It like trivializes what these people are.
Yeah. So then a meme makes sense to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like broken down into this picture.
Yeah. And there's
Um,
only a few words in it.
and sometimes there's no words.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like a series of like other images, and you're like, oh, I get it. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's fucking like a dude in like a local band that's not successful, and he'll say something,
Yeah.
something like they're hating on some big band or some shit. And then you see the same thing with like like city boys and shit like that, or like talking about OnlyFans girls on Instagram,
Oh
like these
yeah.
new archetypes, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or like
Or
people that like their crystals and avocado
oh yeah, yeah, like
toast.
the white witches, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then there's like streamers, and there's e-girls and e-boys.
There's almost like characters
Yeah, they're characters,
in the
and
simulation. What's the word you use? You use like a non something player or like
oh yeah, NPC, so
NPC?
non-playable character. So the idea comes from like video games, right? So in video games, there's NPCs, non-playable characters.
Yeah.
So they're characters you don't get to control,
Yeah.
and they help the story go along, right? Or they provide some sort of like,
Yeah.
um, like feedback to you about something that you're doing, or they help, like they determine a series of events, right, based on like how you interact with them in the games.
Yeah.
And so that I always talk about how people have NPCism, and these aren't like,
Would you say like in the Truman Show,
yeah,
the
yeah,
movie, there's
exactly.
just like who would you say is the NPC? Like just to give a little more clarity.
Okay, well, okay. I was gonna say like this stuff I'm talking about is not my own like original thoughts or philosophies.
Yeah.
This is just my reaction to that information, right?
Right.
Just so people don't think I think I
You
created
came
this or
up
some
with
shit.
this
Yeah,
idea,
I'm
yeah.
I'm not the fucking first one. Like,
You're just interested by it.
yeah, like I took a lot of philosophy classes in college and shit to like learn about this stuff as I
Yeah.
was interested in it. But I did that to build my own understanding of it, and then I like explored it on my own, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't until I started like really using like psychedelics and stuff like that in like my mid 20s that I was like down to talk about it with other people. Because before that, it
Yeah.
was seemed kind of like nuts to me.
Because you could also say like some people that use this theory, simulation theory, as like their own kind of perception of how they view the world. You could also apply that to religion. I think that's why it
Yeah,
goes like hand in
totally.
hand because like people that are very religious, they see the world a certain way in that religion context.
Hmm.
And for example, too, like people that are like against abortion for religious reasons,
Yeah,
like they don't see the other view of it because they're so stuck in this like little box of like
they narrow their
yeah.
perspective.
So they don't see that there's like women who are like raped and need abortions or women who just don't want abortions, and so they don't see that other view of life
Yeah,
and like for whatever reason. And
yeah.
they don't see how like their opinion actually shouldn't be involved in someone else's
Yeah,
choice.
like they shouldn't restrict someone else's freedom because they've put a constraint on their own understanding of that reality, right?
Yeah, so their reality is just like, oh well, it's
Simulated.
killing a baby, and that's all they see.
Well, they see it. See, the thing is, like, especially really political stuff like that, where you're talking about like governing people's bodies, like
Yeah.
especially women, right? And only women experience that, right? Where
Hmm.
they have to worry about a body of government like determining what you do with yours.
Yeah.
So like, um, that whole component of that is like simulated as well, right? Because
Yeah.
their ethics and their morals are built on their spirituality, right, on their religion,
Hmm.
and they're like they have an expectation of what the consequences of their actions are going to be, and it's hell,
Hmm. Yeah.
and that determines how they
And
carry themselves and how they
in a
act.
sense, that's their like simulation because they're like
Yeah,
it's already like planned out what's
it's
gonna
planned
happen.
out. Yeah, exactly. And they really subscribe to it, right, to the point where they're down to tell you whether you follow the same religion as them or not,
Yeah.
like not to do something.
Hmm.
So they're and it's okay. So like back to the NPC shit, like
Right.
there there's NPC isms, right, that people have or they exhibit that is akin to like being a non-playable character in reality.
Hmm.
And like I've talked to a couple of friends about how you test people, right, to see like if they exhibit those qualities.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to determine that without spending tons of time with them and building like this like relationship with them
Yeah.
based on this idea
Hmm.
is to talk to them about just simulation. Talk to them about,
Really?
yeah, you talk to a person about, oh, I think that maybe reality might be a situation. It
Simulation.
might be the situation from Jersey Shore.
Yeah, I liked him. He was funny.
Yeah.
It's not better than Pauly D. Ravenny
Yeah. Let's
though.
just talk about Jersey Shore. Um, yeah.
Or
So
JWoww. Just
Let's
kidding.
talk about JWoww and Snooki.
And yeah,
Stop the
all the girls.
smosh. No. Yeah. I'm trying. That's an NPCism right there. We're doing.
Okay,
That's
so when you ask an NPC about a simulation, what's their
no. You don't
response
ask an
that you're
NPC.
okay?
You actually ask someone about their thoughts about the simulation, right?
Mm.
And that's how you determine if they exhibit NPCisms or not. So if you
What is
talk,
a NPCism?
an NPCism is this, okay, basically you're not a main character, you're not an actor
Mm.
in, like, your actions are not the main driving force here.
Yeah, that's
You
interesting.
you're
They're in a sense, okay, if you want to put it like in like other terms, they're like Jesse Pinkman. They're not Walter White.
in a way, yeah,
Yeah, right?
but he slowly gets out of that, right? As he
Oh,
kind
well,
of
because
breaks free from his
yeah,
influence.
his character develops.
His character
Okay, so maybe
develops.
that's not a bad
And
example, but like,
and that's
I
why
mean, that is a bad
this
example.
it's no, it's a pretty good example
Okay.
because you're talking about character development, and that's another thing that's really important to breaking free from that.
Yeah.
And and like, people exhibit NPCisms when they stop taking control of not only like their perspectives and their, I guess saying their fate sounds really serious.
Hmm.
Um, but I guess I'm being seriously. So, like,
Yeah.
like,
How funny.
yeah, I know. So,
It's
like,
punny.
so people, they try to govern their own fate, and sometimes they fail to realize that they're still stuck in the NPCism where they're like letting, like, religious people is a huge one because you're
Yeah.
like giving power to an idea, right? An
Yeah, yeah.
ideology, and you're letting that determine like the
Or
quality of your
even
life.
in a sense, you could put it in smaller terms when people let a priest be the one to determine if that's good or if you should do that or if you shouldn't do that. A lot of people go to priests for advice
Hmm.
because the priest is supposed to be like the leader, quotation marks. So like they're living, in a world where the priest is one of
In
their
a
leader
world.
is their leader, so they need like advice because the priest speaks to God. So, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, and like, there, that whole thing is simulated, right? Because
Hmm.
he doesn't speak to God, and
Yeah,
you know,
he's a human.
yeah, I mean, yeah, and you know damn well that, like, all of the concepts that you're talking about when you're having mass, or you're like at temple, or you're at any, like, any of these institutes for your religion,
Mm.
like, you're actually part of a simulated experience there. You're all agreeing mutually on a set of ideas and concepts about your reality,
Hmm.
whether you know that it's like 100% or not.
Right.
You're all kind of, that's what faith is, right? So if you don't have those things, you have this really, like, it's a very loose, like, experience, like, if you don't have a religion, because suddenly you have to, like, not only determine meaning, but
Hmm.
you have to also decide whether there is any or not.
Yeah,
And that's like a huge deal, like deciding if things mean anything or not, if there's
that's
purpose or there's
true.
no purpose.
Right. Because like to someone a Bible isn't anything.
Yeah, it's not shit, and to some people it's everything.
Yeah.
It's their whole day. It's their every waking minute is determined by that.
It's funny though, it's because it's like not. I don't like shit on people that are like into their religion or
No,
anything,
yeah.
but it's like because there are some people who have used religion to like help themselves
To do
be
good things,
better,
right?
or stop doing their drugs or
Hmm.
whatever they're addicted to. It's a little funny because people that actually believe in religion are less likely to be depressed when they're older, and that's because they have something to believe in
And look forward to.
and look forward to in the
Yeah.
afterlife. And the
Yeah, there's
people that
no.
are usually like atheist or
Mhm.
agnostic, or just don't really have a religion to fall on, they're a little bit more depressed because like they're getting older, things are
It's
hurting, they're
sad.
about to die, and they don't know what's gonna happen. They're not
Yeah.
really looking forward to anything.
Well, they stop giving meaning to those things,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, spiritually, and they're like, my spirit's dying soon. Like, and I
and
told
what's
everyone this doesn't matter.
and what's gonna happen?
They probably feel like assholes, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's probably really rough, like, to be that person. I don't want to be that person, you know?
Yeah.
I don't want to be like old, and then I'm like, I stopped believing in God, and I told everyone God's stupid and he sucks
Yeah, and I said
because I wasn't
I don't
happy.
care.
Yeah, all because I wasn't happy. In a way, that's kind of narcissistic, right? I was like, I'm not happy, so I'm gonna just, like, decide
Shit on
that.
everyone else's parade.
Yeah, I'm gonna
But you're
decide.
not because you said you don't really like hate on people who are
Well, now,
religious
yeah.
or like you're not judgmental.
Yeah, now at my age,
Unless
I'm
they're
definitely not.
judgmental themselves. I can't stand a Christian person who's like fucking super judgmental and hateful and like it's like what?
Yeah, of course. That
Are
is
you,
stupid.
like the whole thing is just be a good person, just be nice to people and like be considerate.
Well, they can't do that because they're like so deep in their shit because
Yeah,
they like
not all of them.
no, no, I'm talking yeah, we're just talking about those people that are like
Yeah,
super judgmental, right? So like they just don't want to look at themselves
yeah.
because they do a lot to repent for the bullshit they do.
Hmm.
They don't want you to be like calling attention to it because they're like
Yeah,
they have to be this super religious person and then they're trying to like project that shit onto you.
yeah. Oh, here's a story that kind of relates to that. There's this docu series on Netflix. I forgot what it was called. Oh, it was called Our Father. And it was about this guy who he was the doctor at a fertility clinic.
Oh man, I know
And
exactly what you're talking about.
I know, I told you about it.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so he was a doctor at a fertility clinic and he used his sperm to impregnate so many
Oh
women,
my
hundreds of women,
God, yeah.
hundreds of
What a
women
motherfucker.
with his sperm, and they were in a small town. And he also used to be like, he was really heavily involved in the
In the
church.
church?
And so, long story short, when they convicted him, the judge determined that he couldn't be this evil, malicious person that was in some way raping women
Because he was
without their
involved with the
consent,
church.
that he couldn't be this evil person because he was involved with the church and he donated largely and like his wife was
Largely?
his wife was a part of the church as well and like his children with her like they were good people so he got like I think he just had to pay a $500 fine.
It's funny that he like donated to the church the whole time too. He was he was
Yeah,
like, I'm an asshole.
but
Yeah, they forgave him because he also subscribed to the same simulated part of their reality, right?
exactly.
And they shun like they would have probably thrown him in jail if he was not religious, right?
Right.
Um, and you notice how he did dumb shit and probably justified it, but
That's
his
not dumb
donate.
shit. That's like evil shit. You don't do that.
Oh,
Like
okay, well, I'm not saying it's not evil. I'm just saying he did like the worst things you could do,
this
right?
is
As a
so
human being.
disgusting. Like imagine I had to go to a fertility clinic and like
No,
he impregnated me with his sperm and
no,
then the baby that we raised was like not even yours.
sounds terrible. It sounds like a
Yeah, that's
nightmare.
disgusting.
No, yeah, he's definitely a shit human being for that. But I'm saying like I guess yeah, I should have emphasized how fucking shitty he is.
Yeah, it's
He's
not
terrible.
dumb. It's like,
No, yeah.
yeah, that's evil. Imagine he did it to your mom, just to put it in a different
Okay, yes.
perspective.
I know you're
Imagine one of your siblings was
no, yeah.
his.
I don't want to imagine that situation. Um, but you notice how he like probably tried to justify his shitty behavior by like donating to the church and going to
Yeah,
church.
exactly, exactly.
And not to say that like all religious people are that. Obviously, that's an extreme radical case. But I see how how religion gets used for people to do shit
Yeah,
like
and
that
to get away with
to
shit.
get away with shit. And then like
Yeah,
obviously being Catholic, you like all these kids got molested and
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
So that's like a whole nother fucking
Yeah,
conversation. We can do a whole episode on that shit. But like that's one reason why just religion is another part of simulated
it's
reality,
yeah,
right?
true.
And so people who are really heavily into religion become NPCs as well.
Hmm.
And so my this is what's kind of crazy is like the whole point of what I was going to say on what NPC isms are.
Yeah,
We just kind of ex, not explained, but we just displayed an example of
right.
that
Because I was
behavior.
trying to understand like what you were talking about.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. You're trying to like understand it. So if you talk to someone long enough about the simulation, if they continue to detract the conversation and turn it around or get away from that, that's an NPCism because they're trying to stop you from building understanding with them. There's
Hmm.
no way to do it on your own.
Right.
You can't possibly break it down by yourself and then have true trust in it. And not that I like this is not my religion. This is just like a philosophy I have that I'm like I've kind of like dedicated a lot of time and writing to it in my life.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll write a book one day or some shit, but I probably like need to do
Didn't
some
you
other
also
things.
say that the person that interrupts the most about this conversation or tries to
They're
set
the biggest NPC.
yeah,
Yeah, they're the simulate. They become part of the simulation, right?
yeah.
It's kind of like if you watch The Matrix, like when Neo's trying to do all this shit to
Mm.
save Zion, like there's the agent stopping him,
Yeah, yeah.
and they're just like their code. They're just a program. They're just like
Yeah.
a archetype, and people are the same. We're just like we get programmed and we become archetypes, and then you watch us like we forfeit our will to
Yeah.
a system
Yeah,
or an
exactly.
ideology.
And another like way that turned out in like film was like in the Truman Show
Yeah.
when he's trying to when he starts to think like, hey, that's
Yeah.
suspicious.
Or he sees the
Didn't
light
I just
fall.
see that person?
Yeah.
And then like the person that's directing the show, he's like, throw this person in there, throw in
Yeah.
the thunderstorm,
All
like
these things to detract.
yeah,
That's 100% the same concept.
yeah,
Or he's like noticing these people at the market and shit.
yeah,
Or like he sees the light fall
yeah.
from
He's like, what the
the
fuck?
set.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's really what happens if in the same way his character was experiencing that, like revelation
mm-hmm.
through his experience of like questioning things.
Yeah,
People, you do too if you start to really ask people how much they understand what's happening.
mm-hmm.
And if you child people, let's not talk about religion. Let's not talk about politics. Let's talk all these simulated parts of what we're experiencing.
Yeah,
Let's not talk about paying rent or having a job. Let's not talk about, like all these institutions and these systems and ideologies that we have to follow to stay alive. Basically,
yeah,
let's talk about being alive together and what that means, and not only what it means, but how we can build upon that and improve, like how we maneuver and navigate this reality.
yeah.
And so, if you take all that shit away, people get really scared.
Yeah, it's a little scary to think
Yeah,
about.
it's fucking frightening, right?
Yeah,
Because then they have nothing to hold on to. It's kind of like it's a grip, like it's a
yeah.
not
There's
that it's
no
a
like
crutch, but
safety net or something.
yeah,
Yeah,
it protects you, and it also kind of keeps people together.
yeah.
And a lot of people need, not only do they need like
Some
they need
reassurance.
reassurance, and they need something to kind of keep them together. It's glue.
Yeah.
Um,
Someone that's like saying like for example, like Jesus Christ, he's looking out for you, and like this is happening for the best reason, and like is gonna like reward you or something. I don't know. It's your reassurance that something good is gonna happen, or like something will later on like form into like you going to heaven or something. I don't know if that makes sense.
no, yeah, like your actions build up to an outcome.
Yeah.
And I think what's really like the allure to the religion is that not only does it build up the expectation for an outcome, but it kind of gives you some, like, almost a guarantee for yourself. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know if it's true or not, but you feel like you have a guarantee for
Yeah.
the mysterious part of life, because everything else is, for the most part, like religions give you their text, right? And then you
Yeah.
follow that text and you're like, this is how I reach my salvation,
Yeah.
or this is how I forfeit that salvation. And so you're like, what happens after this? There's no way to find out but to die. And
Yeah.
you're like, well, I don't want to. They're like, well, don't do that. You can't give up right now.
Yeah.
So here's a bunch of rules to follow to make sure like whatever happens after this is like, you're gonna feel good about it,
Yeah.
and you're gonna feel good experiencing it.
Mm.
But also that also happens because you're like afraid of they need something to happen after, and it's like, why does it have to happen after? Why?
I guess it's a little scary because let's say you don't believe in anything. What happens after you die? That kind of does something to your ego in a way. It means like you're not important anymore, and like
True, yeah.
you're no longer gonna be
Like you're insignificant.
yeah, yeah, in a sense.
Yeah, but the ego should die.
Yeah.
Like the things are better when there's no ego,
Yeah.
because life is not about you. And not only is it not about you, it's definitely not about whoever you think you are and whoever you think other people are.
Hmm.
It's really about like us, all of
Like as
us
a whole.
as a
Yeah.
whole, not just groups of people, not just
Yeah. Not
one
even just
side, just
people.
everyone and
Yeah.
everything that's experiencing
Animals are
this.
important too.
Yeah,
The earth,
all the living things, right?
yeah.
And like,
Even other planets.
yeah, like our society as humans is simulated, like
True.
we try to manipulate other living things, realities, to benefit our own,
Yeah.
and they're
And to
also part of it.
assimilate, to actually, that's why we put
We
fucking,
simulate their reality too. Yeah.
yeah, we put like fucking like, little faces on things, and like we make it very human, and it's human oriented. And
Hmm.
I think, I don't know, that's our own form of,
The human race is narcissistic,
yeah.
but individuals on their own, obviously,
Yeah.
it's not the same. You have to determine that
Yeah,
differently.
and we give dogs their clothes. They look so cute in it
They look
though.
human.
Yeah, they look
Yeah,
human. It's
they
human like.
yeah, it's human like. Yeah, for sure. Like that's for sure. That's definitely part of people's like gravitation towards religion, right? And then when you stop believing in religion, you mentioned earlier, like about agnostic and atheists and people that don't have any religion at all,
Hmm.
like they choose not to believe in God and tell people there is no God.
Yeah.
Those people are simulated in a simulation too, because
Hmm.
they have a new ideology that they're like choosing
Yeah.
to base everything else
Or
on
to deny.
or to deny, and they're basing their whole faith on like the zero, on nothing.
Yeah.
And that's like just as bad, because now you're you're excluding everyone else out now
That's in the sense like
and everything.
when like when kids believe in Santa, and like some asshole's like, you know what, he's not even real.
He's not even real, kid. Sorry.
That's like that's like the atheist, or the person that doesn't have a title, that doesn't believe in religion, you
Well,
know?
they want to tell people stop because
Yeah,
they gave up on their system,
exactly.
and they're like, it hurts. It hurts
Yeah.
to give up on that system, and then it's
Oh,
on
you could
you.
even apply that to like vegan people, right? They're like, no, no meat, like don't eat
Yeah,
animals.
don't eat animals.
But it's like, you know what? If we all just like kind of respected each other's opinions in some way, and stopped trying to push our beliefs on people, I don't know, that might work out
Yeah,
better in a way,
yeah,
you
it
know?
definitely would. Because like honestly, what we're not gonna stop people from eating meat just because we stop eating meat,
Yeah,
and
or
people aren't gonna.
you're not gonna stop believing in religion just because someone's like not trying to believe in religion,
Yeah, exactly. It's
whatever.
just like people trying to stop using gasoline. Like people are gonna still want to drive their car with gasoline in it.
Yeah,
There's people that are hardcore about shit like that, right?
yeah,
Like it's like Hank Hill. Like he wants to use propane. He
yeah. He
hates
loves
coal,
propane.
and like the world could start using only coal, and he would still stick to propane.
Yeah,
And that's the same thing with people that are religious, or people that are agnostic or atheists, or people that are vegan, or people that subscribe so heavily to an ideology.
that they need to force somebody
They need to
else.
force someone else to fall into that,
Yeah,
because you need to fall into line with their understanding of the world for it to make sense to them, and it makes them uncomfortable to be like,
yeah,
this person doesn't believe in what I believe in so strongly. Why the fuck are you questioning it? I gave
yeah,
my whole life to this.
yeah,
So these people, you talk to them long enough about there being nothing like that, and let's consider for 1 minute that we're all happening because this is all being programmed by each other and
mm,
by the whole system itself, right?
uh,
Like the simulation itself is all of us.
okay,
You can break out of that, right? Like by questioning that.
yeah,
Just like you can break out of who you become as a person when you start to question who you are and why you are that person. It's
yeah,
the same thing.
yeah,
And you just do it, you're going from the micro and you're going back to that macro, you're zooming out and you're like, um, this is reality, right?
hmm,
What's happening up in here in my head in terms of like us.
yeah,
Because if you have ego, you're like, well, only I think what I think and only I feel what I feel and no one else is going through that.
hmm,
But if you start considering like, well, we're all kind of just like a computer. Like we're all being programmed by everyone else and everything else that's happening.
yeah,
So like you think about your childhood, and people talk about their childhood a lot because that's like the foundation for how you develop your understanding of reality and how you react
yeah.
to it.
That's true.
Yeah. So you're just like a little computer, and you're being programmed, and people are saving folders and files on you, and they're running like applications, these skills that you develop and build, and it finds ways to get things out of you,
Hmm.
like the simulation, and people that are part of the other simulated parts of our life. They're users in the sense that they're getting you to perform tasks that you were programmed to do.
Yeah.
whether it's falling in line or following their ideologies and their practices, or being a certain, like political party, or being like heavily involved with like, like nationalism, or fucking, or being a minority, or being a man or a woman. And it's like there's importance in intersectionality there, but it all comes down to the same shit, right? It all comes down to us respecting and loving ourselves and others.
Hmm.
Like those things don't even come into question if you were to just start there.
Yeah, you know what's crazy is that like thinking about sometimes I've had this thought for a while actually. Um, is that like it's really crazy how many distractions there are in our life to make us believe that certain things matter, like, what our shoes look like, what our
Oh, like
clothes look
trivial
like.
shit, right?
Yeah, or like look at this house, look at my house, like I'm working hard and I'm wasting my time because my time is money. I'm doing this so I can buy something, so I can show other people
There's a
that I'm
pressure, huh?
important. And it's funny because when you look at like the indigenous people and like tribes and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like, they were looking to survive and work in societies to help each other like
Mm-hmm. There was an
survive.
objective.
Yeah, and it's just crazy that like we're, so far into life, and the distractions kind of just keep piling.
Yeah, they
And
start
now
to
social
outweigh.
media matters, and now like,
Yeah.
these other dumb shit, like things that shouldn't matter, they matter.
Yeah, they matter, and they determine, at some point, they start to really determine objective outcomes for us.
Yeah,
Like,
and like your focus is like actually just so distracted on like, oh, let me make sure how many followers I have. Let me make sure that like people are seeing me this often, or else I'm gonna lose like popularity points. Or let me make sure like I have the nicest clothes,
well, people
or
want to be liked,
let me
right?
make sure that I have my nails done every fucking 2 weeks. All these things that like take focus on your brain and like what you're thinking and like your goals of what you're going to do that week, those like in certain days. um they kind of take away of like other things that you could be learning about.
Oh, yeah, yeah, for sure. You start to like commit a lot of your life to trying to manipulate people's perspective of you,
Yeah,
and you
true.
start giving a lot of power to that, and then it really starts to
that
take
was that
your.
was a little bit going off the subject, but what I
Yeah.
initially meant was because of all these distractions that keep occurring in our lives and what's important
Mhm.
in society, and versus like in the past, like I said, in tribes and stuff like that.
Yeah, like we care about superficial shit,
Yeah.
and people used to care about practical, objective things.
Yeah, kind of just surviving, being like with the earth. I think that's why when people do like psychedelics or when they go camping and shit like
They
that,
feel like the
they,
synchronicity.
yeah, they feel like this is kind of a good feeling. It's where I'm supposed to be. A lot of times
Hmm.
when people don't like that, but I usually feel good when like I'm in nature. I want to be in nature, and sometimes it's like a calling.
I think if any person goes out there and they really just they accept that they have to be there,
Yeah,
and they pay attention, and they stop like they take time away, they take a break from the other simulated parts of life.
yeah,
They really start to understand how to get out of that. And
yeah,
and then that brings you closer to understanding what really is happening,
yeah,
and how little we matter individually, in terms of just like us being fucking famous or trying to be someone that
yeah,
matters,
yeah.
and really understanding that we all matter, not just whether if you're human or not, just all the living things matter. And then
Yeah,
it really helps you. That should be the guideline there.
yeah,
Just thinking about how to make that easier for everyone, and also without taking away from yours or anybody else's like quality, right, of life, and
yeah.
their quality of reality.
So the moral of the story here is that you should probably do like shrooms or something.
Yeah. No, I mean you don't have to, but I think what people should start doing.
Is being open to
Yeah,
experiences
be open
and
to experiences, and definitely
other forms of life.
other forms of life. Like be open to, honestly, like you need to be open to the idea that you're wrong,
Yeah, that's true.
and you're not ever going to be right.
Yeah,
Neither is anybody else. And like all there is to do really is question, and respect.
Respect other
Do it with
people.
respect. Question
Yeah.
with respect, because if you're questioning with disrespect, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
I think you need to ask questions.
So now we're at our time. So yeah.
Well, we still got like almost 2 minutes left, no?
Okay. So want to keep talking? Go
Yeah, I mean,
ahead.
like, he's trying to cut me off here, like, and then, like, you got to really think about, no, just, like, keep going, all this, like,
Yeah.
inspirational shit. No, I think you just, like I was saying, question respectfully,
Mhm.
but ask your friends and your family, like, what they think about the simulation. And if they just keep trying to change the subject, they're an NPC, bro. That's
I
it.
think that was the moral of this
Yeah,
whole
like, you just ask
talk.
people
Yeah.
about the simulation.
Are you an NPC or nah?
Yeah, or no, like, are you real, bro? Are you fake? And when I say bro, I don't mean just like men. I mean literally just, you know,
You're gonna get
brother,
canceled.
sister.
You're
It's
gonna
all
get canceled
it's
because you're not inclusive.
yeah, it's all the same shit. We're all human. Like, all yeah,
Okay. Well, thanks, babe.
yeah. I just want to say, like, thanks for having me on,
Okay.
because this was an interesting
This was a
experience.
good conversation.
It was a good conversation, and if you listened to the whole thing, then thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.